Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's been having a great week out there. Happy 4th. Hope you guys have some cool things planned for your day and night. I know me and my family do. We're going to be celebrating, having a block party, if that's what you want to call it, but basically a big old gathering in our cul-de-sac in our neighborhood. A lot of friends and family will be over. Very excited. Going to make some good food. I've rented a 20-foot water slide where, everybody can enjoy, not just the kids, but the adults too. I know I'll certainly be on it. And then we're going to shoot fireworks. So hopefully you got some cool things planned in your neck of the woods. But here to talk about the weather, the first thing we're going to go over, guys, is the tropics. We're waking up to a pretty healthy looking, what we call investigation off the coast of the southeast. It's dubbed Invest 92L. It just basically means that we're watching this, but I personally think that this will take our next name out of the list of names from the National Hurricane Center, which is the C name, Chantal. And I think there's a good chance we'll even have a tropical depression maybe sometime over the next 24 hours, maybe sooner. So we're going to get very detailed on this right off the dot. We'll give you an update on this, obviously, first, and then we'll break down your weather for your rest of your 4th of July, the daily forecast. We'll break it down section by section across the country, region by region. There is a couple areas to watch that have a higher risk of strong to severe thunderstorm activity. It seems like, that's been something we've been talking about over the last several months, and today will be no different. So we'll give you some information on that. And then we'll break down the days to come, spend like a minute or two on that, and then we'll round off the video with a Bible devotion if you're interested in sticking around for the end of the video for that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over, and it gives many others an opportunity to pray over it also. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is it. This is Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina up here. And this is our investigation. 92L is what it's called. And who knows, by the time some of you folks watch this video, this might be a tropical depression. And I wouldn't even be surprised if in 12, 24 hours, this is a tropical storm. This is how this kind of stuff works when we have what we call homegrown activity. And we've been speaking on it over the last several days. Basically, a stalled frontal boundary allows for some convection meaning shower and storm activity, to kind of get trapped over the open waters, open warm waters, in this case, either over the Northeast Gulf or off the coast of the Southeast. And then that convection can just continuously fire all that warm air and then eventually organize and gain what we call tropical or subtropical characteristics. And that is kind of what it looks like it's doing right now, just based off this. And you can tell, I've seen weaker, like tropical storms look worse than this. If you told me, without me knowing, that this was a tropical storm, even a mid-grade tropical storm, I would say, hey, I believe you. But right now, just an invest, but it is a healthy looking one. And you see sort of it just firing off this convection. I know this for, people that haven't been tuning in for a length of time where I explain this. This just looks like blobs of color. But the orange, red, even the dark red right in here, this is indicating colder cloud tops, which means we have stronger convection. The stronger the convection, the stronger the thunderstorm activity. The higher these updrafts go, the higher up they go, the colder it is in the upper levels in the atmosphere. And this is reflected by what you're seeing here on your screen. So this thing's looking pretty healthy. We're not getting any real big impacts or anything like that, except just pushing a lot of big time surf, and the rip currents are high up against the southeast coastline. So if you're vacationing on the Georgia, Florida, Carolina coastline, this is probably producing some pretty big waves over the next few days. It probably has been already over the last 24 hours, but this thing looks pretty healthy right now. So we'll continue to move forward here. Another way of looking at this is just the regular satellite visibility. So you'll notice that the sun is coming up. So it looks black and then it lightens up. That's because it goes from past to right now. So the sun is coming up on this, and I'm actually going to pause it right here. Okay, this thing looks like an organizing tropical system. And we see this almost every single hurricane season. It looks like it's really healthy. But what's going on beneath the hood? I'm talking about underneath all this white that you see here, which is thunderstorm activity, is it developing a defined low-level circulation. We really need kind of a scan to go over this system, or either some hurricane hunters to go out here and actually find a defined low-level circulation. So we'll see if that happens. And maybe they've already scheduled it and I missed that somewhere. But they will definitely be going out in this thing, because this thing looks like it's really getting its act together fast. Now, right now, I'm looking at my time. It's around 7:38 a.m. So getting this video out a little bit later. So the Hurricanes Center will literally drop another update here in the next like 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll try to maybe go back to this at the end of the video if I think about it. But listen, I'm going to show you this right now. This thing has a 60% chance to develop over the next 7 days. I mean, this is not a 7-day thing, though. This is like the next 4 or 5 days. 60% chance, let's just say, to develop overall, has a 50% chance to develop over the next 48 hours. But I'm telling you right now, probably at the 8 a.m. update, if not maybe the 2 p.m. update today, this will update to a high risk of developing, which means this will show up in the red, and it'll be a 70% chance or higher of developing. So I'm showing you this just because it's the latest information I have, but this will likely go up probably in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I would not be surprised one bit at all, but this is the information I got you. Let's try to see if we can get one more update here. Yeah, we're not going to make it. So just to take a look at what the Euro shows, and we can sit here and look at model guidance till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, I mean, this thing is like just hanging off right off the coast of the southeast. So it's right here beside us, so we honestly can just watch it. But, we'll still look at some model guides, and this is the Euro this morning. It is showing a weak 1014 millibar low, but if you notice, this is where it's showing the center of this low. Most of the convection is probably going to be lopsided to the east. So obviously further to the east, there's no land. That's the open waters. To the west, which would be Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. That's where your land is, right? But you keep this going in motion, and we take it to about tomorrow morning. So July 5th, it looks like this thing is bubbling up even more moisture. So if you notice, it has the center of this low pressure a little bit stronger, 1012. The more that number drops, the stronger the low. And it has a lot of convection on the eastern side, but some of this moisture is starting to push up against the Carolina coastline at this point. And then eventually, as we're getting into Sunday morning, does the actual center of low pressure make a landfall here? It could, but it's starting to push more shower and downpour and tropical rain activity into the Carolina coastline. Who knows? Maybe we get a tornado threat into eastern sections of North Carolina, depending on where the center of this low actually goes. So, we start to get into, say, Sunday evening, and we'll have to just watch it after that. But, just taking a look at what the HER model is showing. And listen, the HER model is not the best model to look at as far as looking at the tropics, but, it's the best thing we have to look at here. And you can see as I get this in motion this afternoon, tonight, all the way into tomorrow morning, you can quite literally see a spinning low pressure with all the moisture really lopsided to the east. But watch as we start to get into tomorrow evening. We start to get into tomorrow night. Well, this is as far out as we can go. But if we take it all the way out to the middle of the night, tomorrow night, you start to see some shower and storm activity making it to the Carolina coastline. And I think we have to watch Sunday into Monday for sure. So, that's just some model guidance and just some ensemble model guidance from the Euro ensemble from overnight. Remember, this makes up about 51 members, and it does show a low pressure. It shows several of these members, 20 or so I would count, just based off, this might be about 15 to 20. But it does show, regardless, there's a low pressure. I ain't going to look at this, but, you obviously look at the satellite right now. You can see a developing tropical system, but it shows a low forming and then hitting either the Georgia coastline or either the center hitting the South Carolina coastline. But remember, do not hyper-focus on where the center of the system makes landfall, especially with these weaker tropical systems. They're always lopsided to one side. In this case, they'll be the eastern side. So probably your most moisture will actually fall into like North Carolina. But this is rainfall between now and 8 a.m. Wednesday. 1 inch to 2 inches of rain for the central to northern South Carolina coastline. Some rain can make it all the way back to Columbia, Florence. What's going to be the cutoff of this moisture? I think that's something to watch And then we'll take this up to the North Carolina, Virginia area. And let's get that off your screen. Been dealing with a lot of pop-ups this morning. It's been irritating. I've actually had to start the video over multiple times because of it. But that's why I'm getting it out so late. But anyways, eastern North Carolina, a few inches of rain. Once you start to get into this red area, that's where over 2 inches of rain is possible. So the purple area, 1 to 2 inches of rain. So I mean, Wilmington up to Jacksonville, a few inches of rain is likely from this. So we'll have to see if this increases. This will be, I mean, there's not going to be any devastating impacts, major impacts from this. We could end up getting a little bit of a tornado risk in the far eastern sections of North Carolina, heck, maybe even southeast Virginia. Some gusty winds, but nothing too crazy whatsoever. I promise you guys, it's not. I mean, obviously, you put yourself in danger if you're along the coastline. You're going out there, and they got the red flags up for high-end rip currents. So, you know, some of it you got to take your own responsibility there. But just be careful. Be careful swimming out in the ocean. It seems like I've just been seeing a lot of people getting lost out in sea. I think I've heard about somebody in the Panhandle of Florida a few weeks back, and then someone around Myrtle Beach. I think a 21-year-old. I don't think they've still found them yet, but maybe stuff is just, I'm sure this has always happened, but of course it's a social media driven world now, so you see all of this a lot more. But that's an update on the tropics, guys. You know, we can get even more detailed on it if we want, but this thing, you know, this thing looks healthy out there. Let's see if we can catch another update. Yeah, we actually got a new update. So they did not bump it up. Right now, still a 60% chance of development within the next 7 days. So let's look at the 2-day outlook. They did bump it up to 10% for the next 48 hours. So now it is up to a 60% chance of a development in the next 48 hours. And I know some people, I've seen this question a couple times before. What does it mean, development? You just got a 60% chance of developing into a tropical depression or a named storm. Next named storm, remember, Chantal. So we'll see if that happens. But anyways, moving forward here, let's look at the current radar and what's going on. There is numerous flash flood warnings ongoing in central and south central Texas. So a lot of rain kind of congealed up in this area. There's all that rain off the coast of the southeast. You can already, I mean, if I was to zoom in here, you can literally see a little bit of a spin off the coast of the southeast. We got a big slug of moisture kind of riding south to north across the high plains up into southern areas of Canada. A big area storm up in areas of Ontario. So we got some storms, and model guidance handled this pretty well. I think I mentioned this in yesterday morning's video about a line of storms moving through southern Wisconsin this morning, and that's exactly what we're getting. Big plume of moisture getting tossed across the central and northern Rockies right now. A little bit of a spin up here and areas of eastern Canada. But that's current conditions. Watches, warnings, advisories, flood watches up for central Texas. And this is, I mean, for what's going on right now. We got red flag warnings in the pink across the western U.S., some flood watches across Idaho. It's going to get very hot. Once again, even hotter today across areas of Minnesota, Wisconsin. Higher humidity, higher surface temperatures, heat indices will be pretty high. So, but moving forward here, the risk of severe weather, if you live in the light green, just a general risk of thunderstorms could be a 20% chance, could be an 80% chance. You just got to stay tuned to your local people for that. But I will zoom into a couple areas as we always do. But the dark green, that's a level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather, what we call a marginal risk. And then we have an area right here that we'll zoom into. That does have a slight risk, a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. So we'll watch out for this region up here, International Falls, down to Grand Forks, Fargo. You guys, level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. A tornado, the tornado outlook, there is a 2% risk of a tornado in this area. And then the wind outlook, there is a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And the hail outlook is sub 15%, just a 5% risk of severe wind gusts and the flash flooding threat. Of course, we have the ongoing flooding right now in Texas. That'll continue to be a risk over the next 24 hours. And then we have a 15% risk of flash flooding up here in the same area. We have that severe weather threat for today. So just be aware of that, 15% risk of flash flooding being possible. So the southeast, you know, we've already, if you just watched the update on the tropics, you already saw this a little bit. But the main area we are, of course, are watching for actual rain, the fall on land, storm activity on land, is Florida. We take it to this afternoon, a lot of thunderstorm activity across the peninsula of Florida. So if you got plans, you're going to be dodging thunderstorms. And it's definitely, you always have a risk of thunderstorms in Florida in the summer, but this is definitely influenced a little bit more by tropical activity because of this tropical system with the flow going around it like this. So these storms will be kind of drifting more so north to south across Florida today. Little bit of isolated activity in the eastern Carolinas, so we will, watch out for that. And then we get into the overnight hours, and we'll just have to continue to watch the spinning low pressure off the coast of the southeast. So closer look at Florida, though, over the next 24 hours. We started off early this afternoon, and then we get into about mid-afternoon. You see just thunderstorms scattered everywhere. Some areas might dodge the rain, some areas won't. But as we get closer to the sun setting, 4th of July festivities, fireworks, nature will probably deliver their own fireworks with a lot of lightning with some of these storms. But some areas will make it out dry. We'll be fine. But just be aware of these thunderstorms today. These could produce some heavy rain also. Northeast, pretty chill weather. I mean, there ain't really a whole lot to talk about. Maine could get some showers. You're sticking out further north enough to getting a little bit of flow, so some shower activity possible in Maine, but elsewhere looks pretty dry, looks pretty nice. So not a whole lot to speak on for you guys. Enjoy your 4th. But the south central U.S. Will have a lot of moisture dancing around across central Texas. We'll continue to get that, but I do think that it'll try to lessen up somewhat compared to what we're seeing right now. But I mean, even into this afternoon, shows a lot of moisture, just congealed thunderstorm activity right in the heart of Texas. But then as we get into the overnight hours, it will lessen up, and then we just have to watch for some thunderstorms that'll surging through Kansas as we're waking up tomorrow morning. So we'll be aware of that. But a few more inches of rain could fall in central Texas for today, so be aware of that. But the north central U.S., a broad look at things first. And the big storyline is obviously these storms surging through the eastern Dakotas, the eastern half of Nebraska, northern Minnesota. And this is for around about 6, 7 o'clock this evening. And then these storms will continue to surge across Minnesota. We'll get the thunderstorms you see down there. This is like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, though, in eastern Nebraska, getting into western Iowa. And then we'll just wake up to scattered thunderstorm activity into tomorrow afternoon also across the upper Midwest. But just a zoomed in look at some of these areas that have the higher risk of severe weather. Starting it off around lunchtime. We start to get into 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Let's stop around 4 p.m. Jamestown, Devil's Lake, this area. Some big thunderstorms are possible. You can see these, the pinks and the whites. This could produce some large hail, but really damaging winds, the biggest threat. And these could produce some tornadoes. And then as we start to get to 6 p.m., this main action will get close to Fargo, Grand Forks. And then by the time, we start to get to about 9, 10 o'clock, maybe shooting some fireworks off, some more thunderstorms could form behind it, but maybe a little bit more lesser in coverage. And then we start to get into the overnight hours, and things should begin to calm down as we're waking up tomorrow morning. And then we look at South Dakota, starting off around lunchtime here also. We get to about 3 p.m. You see the thunderstorms in the southern areas of the state. And then we start to get to about 6 p.m. You see the thunderstorms scattered about across the eastern sections of South Dakota, Aberdeen. Watch out with these. But, the western areas of the state, more isolated in nature. But these storms will get all the way over to Brookings, Sioux Falls, Yankton. As we get into around 9 p.m., then some scattered activity could redevelop in the western half of the state for later this evening. Then we get into the overnight hours, and not a whole lot to speak on. Nebraska, starting it off around midday, 12 o'clock. This is 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. You see some thunderstorms crossing the central portions of the state. Then we get into 5 p.m., thunderstorms right in the middle of the state. So be aware of these. They will hit strong to severe limits. I wouldn't bet on everybody actually getting a storm. And then we get to 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Most of the action begins to move into the eastern half of the state. Grand Island, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight. Could have another separate area of storms. In fact, I would bet on it for the central areas in Nebraska later on tonight. North Platte, down in McCook, Kearney. Look at this area of storms, and this will surge south into Kansas as we're waking up tomorrow morning. So just be aware of all this storm activity. And then Minnesota. Watch out for some thunderstorms cruising across the U.S.-Canadian border up there in Minnesota. Those could definitely pack a punch. Damaging winds, some hail, even a tornado threat, the biggest threat with this. We get to 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Looks like a very stormy evening here in northern areas of Minnesota, and then getting into the western areas of Minnesota. And then we start to take it to about 10 p.m., just storms widespread. It looks like, Minneapolis will be fine, honestly, for like any 4th of July activities. It doesn't look like anything kind of gets into this area, Duluth, Minneapolis, until maybe late tonight. But just be aware of those storms to the western areas and the northern areas for Minnesota later on this evening. So the western U.S., just a big plume of moisture getting tossed across areas of Idaho, getting into southwest Montana, some storms into Wyoming, a little bit of moisture into eastern areas of Oregon. The southern Rockies will be pretty quiet today, but just a closer look at our friends here in the northern Rockies. This activity will become widespread. This is about right in the middle of the afternoon. You see just thunderstorms getting tossed about across Yellowstone National Park, northwest Wyoming, southwest Montana, Idaho. You can see all the action here, moving basically south to north across these regions. So, temperatures, it'll be a hot one across the eastern U.S. Cooler air across the northeast, nice. I mean, honestly, you can't ask for a nicer 4th of July. It could be blistering hot, but it's going to be pretty comfortable. Southeast, it's typical summer heat. And then we look at the western U.S. It's cooling off a bit, not quite as hot as we've seen this week so far, but conditions going forward, there is a slight risk across the northern plains. So level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather for tomorrow. I mean, this is a pretty big area, and there is a tornado threat, 2% risk there. The wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. And then we got a separate marginal risk that does stretch across the Midwest into the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes region. Then we go to day 3. We'll have to watch the central high plains for a risk of severe weather. Excessive rainfall outlook, it doesn't look too crazy at all. So I'm not even going to show that. Really no point in doing that. But let's create a timestamp and let's do a Bible devotion. And let's go enjoy our 4th of July. So I'm going to make this as the timestamp. So this morning we're back in James. We've been staying in James for a while now, I think all week. But this morning we're in James chapter 5, verse 19 through 20. It says, "My brothers and sisters, if any among you strays from the truth and someone turns him back, let that person know that whoever turns a sinner from the error of his way will save his soul from death and cover a multitude of sins." So I put here, and I'll read that one more time. "My brothers and sisters, if any among you strays from the truth and someone turns him back, let that person know that whoever turns a sinner from the error of his way will save his soul from death and cover a multitude of sins." So I put, the challenges in life will at times cause people to become spiritually weak. As followers of Christ, we should attempt to turn these people back from getting off track, or when they get off track, help to bring them back. It is not mentioned in the passage and how to do this, at least in this part. But it should be a sincere approach, not a judgmental one. And, and I put, reach out, get out of your comfort zone. So, it's hard to get comfortable. It's hard to get comfortable, and I feel like this links also with sharing your faith, sharing the gospel, spreading the gospel. And sometimes I put you in an uncomfortable situation, and it's wild because it seems like we're the most uncomfortable doing it with the people we know the most, like our family members. It's almost easier to do it to a stranger, right? But this is more so hitting on, people that maybe someone you've known for a long time, that you've seen them just kind of get off track spiritually. And I want to hit on something that says, approach them, make sure it's a sincere approach, not a judgmental one. Sometimes, we want to almost call people out. I don't think I think there's a time to maybe call someone out, and then there's a time not to. but that is definitely not a time to do it. That's something that you pull somebody aside. You say, hey, I noticed you've been a little off track. Something is everything all right? Try to get a good conversation going. Ask them if everything's been going okay. Chances are, something's probably going on. And that's the thing is a lot of times we let the blows of life and just which we talk about a lot. We let just the things in life that happen to everybody, guys. Some things are worse than others. Some people are going through worse than what others are. Get us off track and really wreck our relationship with Christ. Even as even after we give our life to Christ, we just, that's why I always say in these devotions, it's very important to continue to strengthen that relationship with God, guys. And there's many ways to do it. Get in the Word, find you a good church, find you a good group of people. If you got kids, it's something me and my kids have been doing over the last about month now, as we're trying to memorize Scripture as a family, which is something that I've always been weak in doing. But it's been awesome. It's been a blessing. But just reach out to your people that are struggling, that you can see have drifted away, and maybe doing some things they shouldn't be doing. There's a way to go about it, and I would pray about it. And I think God will give you answers on it. And I think it'll help you out. Just like, you guys always in the comments say, your devotions, are awesome. They help me out, man. I appreciate that so much. It just continues to light a fire for me to do it. But I can't even begin to explain how much this has helped me out, and really challenged me to continue to do things to strengthen my relationship with Christ. So that's all I got, guys. You guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe today. And, we'll continue to pump out these updates. Thank you for the continuous support. Have a wonderful day. God bless. And we'll talk soon.